Hi everybody, it's John here. I have returned after my hiatus, and today you join me for a brief photography trip out to Bosley Reservoir, which is near Congleton in Cheshire. We're now fast approaching the autumn, one of my favourite times of the year. The trees are going to start turning and we're going to get loads of oranges and yellows coming through, making the countryside look really pretty. There's nothing quite like going out for a full day of photography and hiking, getting back wet and cold and having a big bowl of stew, getting a jumper on and watching a bit of TV. In my case, Rings of Power. So satisfying. Today I did some long exposure photography down by the water's edge. There's loads of videos on YouTube already on how to do this, but I'm going to take you through how I did it for two photos, one wide shot and one close up by the water's edge itself. The essence of these shots is that we take an exposure of say 1 or 2 minutes long to completely blur all the imperfections in the water so your eye is drawn to the detail. A problem with this technique though is that trees or shrubs or boats, anything that's moving in the shot will also blur, but we want those to remain static. One way of tackling this problem is to take a number of shots and overlay them in Photoshop later on, which we're going to do in a minute. Here I've taken one long exposure of several minutes and then 3 or 4 more shots at a short shutter speed to cover the static elements in the view. Each of these is focused progressively further back to make sure we capture everything in as much detail as we can. Into post-processing now, and as we look a bit closer you can certainly see the lack of definition in the trees and the shrubs. I've put this together in Photoshop, auto-aligning the layers and then painting in the elements of each layer, starting with the bottom, working our way up through the mids and to the tree line, and finally pasting in the long exposure on the left hand side there to make this final image. Okay, moving on to the second image now then, which is a little bit more abstract, a close-up of pebbles by the water's edge. I'm having a little moment here. I'm sort of questioning my entire life because I've spent my Saturday afternoon on a rainy day outdoors taking pictures of stones. Okay, we're coming up to it now. Should do it. Let's have a little look-see. We're using exactly the same technique with this image as the last one. We get all the photos into Photoshop as separate layers, use the auto align layer function, leave it on automatic, that's fine, let it churn away doing its business, and then we can get on to blending the layers together. The more time you spend doing this and the more meticulous you are, the better the final result will be, I find. So once again, blending each layer together one by one, we find our final image. I'm now going home for soup and a butty. Yes! Right, so that's it for this video. I'm sorry this has been rather a long time in the making, but I've been quite busy, you see, with fun activities such as framing this, weaving this, playing this, climbing up this, and this, throwing that, going to the seaside, photographing this, riding on this, crunching through these, drinking this, and planning various nefarious deeds. I do have a video in the works covering all this stuff that's happened over the last year or so, so stay tuned, and until then, see you later.